Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to my new YouTube channel, Patrick Goes Wild. You are tuned in to Wild and Live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. How do I know we're live? Because I made this coffee about 2 minutes ago, and yeah, it's still hot. Thanks again for those of you that are tuned in. Again, for those of you that watched episode 1 and 2. For those of you that are new, Wild and Live it's basically an online show, a series of conversations, live lessons, if you will, that basically looks into the awesome animals around the planet. And we are doing that by enlisting the help of some awesome people, some biologists and conservationists who get to work with incredible and amazing animals across the planet. Before I introduce you to our guest today, or I should say our guests, multiple, I'd like to remind all of you, if you're not already subscribed, please make sure you click the button below, subscribe to the channel, and get your questions in. Please get your questions in. I can see a few highs and hellos, a bonjour, and a hi from Jameson, Annabelle, and their mum in Oxfordshire. If you have any questions, use the hashtag Wild and Live on Twitter and on Facebook. But yeah, get your questions in today, and we will see if we can fire them off to our guest. So let's get into it. Our guest today is a man who's got a passion for big cats, for African cats. He's been working with these animals for over 10 years, and he's streaming to us all the way from South Africa. I'm going to try and get your name right, Desmond. It's Desmond Gouws. Is that how I pronounce your name? Have I butchered it?
That's good enough. That's good enough, Patrick.
Thank you so much for joining us today, this morning. Let's before we introduce our other guest, let's start with a bit about you. You run a conservation center in South Africa. Why did you do that, and why did you set that up in the first place?
Yeah, Patrick, we started with the cheetah conservation project about 10 years ago when we started realizing the wild population's numbers were dwindling drastically, and there was a huge problem in the wild. Well, there still is.
Are you still with us, Desmond? And this is where the internet
we made
tries
the call
to throw us off.
leave everything we were doing with that.
We're going to see if Des is still with us. Hold the line, because we do have a special guest with him. Des, if you can hear us, our signal is chopping in and out. Are you still there?
I'm still with you. I can still hear you clearly, Patrick.
Awesome. We lost you for a little bit. We lost the full explanation why you set that conservation center up. I suppose your answer probably would have been because you love animals and you have a strong passion for them.
Yeah, that too, and basically to save a species for the next generation. Someone's got to do it, and we stepped in and started doing it 10 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, I told you we're live. This is what happens when you go live and you try and stream all the way from South Africa to London. So, Des, we are dropping out a little bit, but we're going to keep on going because you have a very special co-guest with you today. Could you please introduce your guest?
All right. Yeah, this is one of our cheetahs. Her name's Kiki. She's just decided to get up right now. Yeah, she's a female that's been with us from the beginning, and she was injured as a small cub and unfortunately cannot be released back into the wild.
There she is.
But she's a very, very sweet cat.
Kiki looks beautiful. Cheetahs are one of my favorite animals, Des. I love them. They are so adorable. How many cheetahs have you got there? Is it just the one? Yeah, just one, Kiki.
One where I am now, but there are 13 in total in the breeding project.
Now, you say that you breed cheetahs. in my mind, cheetahs are one of the most successful cats in Africa. They're super successful predators. They're successful in what 50% of their hunts. So why on earth do you need to set up a conservation center to breed these cats?
Patrick, what happened with cheetahs during the last ice age, 10 odd thousand years ago, is their genetic pool bottlenecked. So they're extremely closely related, which causes a lot of problems with cubs if the cats that are breeding are too closely related. And the other thing in the conservation world or the lodge industry in South Africa now, most international guests are focused on seeing the big cats, the lions and the leopards, and they are
Right.
arch enemies. They are arch enemies of cheetahs, and they get killed often by cheetahs. So the wild numbers are dwindling very quickly. So our plan is to breed these cheetahs and then release them back into protected areas to subsidize or supplement the dwindling wild population.
Right. So it's a combination of the fact that they have this really poor genetic profile across their populations, but then they're also being, in a sense, outcompeted by bigger, larger predators like lions, who are, like you say, they're enemies. How many cheetahs are left in South Africa? Do you know?
Patrick, wild cheetahs, they estimate between 900 and 1,000, which might sound like a large number, but
Gosh.
it'll never sustain itself unless something is done.
No, that sounds like for such a large country to only have 1,000 wild cheetah. That's a really sad fact, actually, especially as you know they have a special place in my heart, really. But it sounds great. What you're doing sounds amazing. Tell us about what it's like working with these cheetahs. It sounds like the most awesome, but also kind of like a bizarre job. Do you have to walk the cheetahs like people walk their dogs?
Yeah, Patrick, it's a controversial topic, but we do walk our cheetahs. What we do is we train our cheetahs to hunt from a young age so that when we do release them, they are capable hunters. And obviously, to do that, we need to walk them on a harness to take them to a safe area where they can practice their hunting skills. So, yeah, we do walk with them. It does look quite strange if you're not used to it, seeing someone walking with a cheetah, but it's all
Yeah.
part of their training regime to get them ready for the wild.
And how do you keep them fit? Because cheetahs have evolved to be super fast runners. They're sprinters. They can run up to 70 miles an hour. Some say 80, but 70 miles an hour. I know that I can't. I'm sure that you can't run that fast unless you plan on giving Usain Bolt a run for his money. So how do you exercise the fastest land animal on the planet?
The exercising regimes are twofold. One is when they do go out hunting and they do chase antelope. That's good exercise for them. And the other one is we have a lure machine, similar to the ones they use for greyhounds. We have a lure
Mm.
machine which you tie something onto, and they love chasing that machine, and that keeps them pretty fit.
Right, so with this lure machine, you can program it to zip around, and that gives the cheetahs that kind of enrichment, keeps that
Yeah.
speedster hunter instinct alive.
Yeah. Also, you can set it up into a different shape, a circle or a square, just to get those muscles toned. That helps the cheetah to turn, to teach them how to turn sharply. So when they are
Mm.
released, they don't just run in a straight line. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's take a little break there and see if we've got any questions. Let's have a look. We've got hellos coming in. Lisa, let's have a look. We've got. I'm trying to see if we've got any questions here. Okay. So we've got a question from Jameson, who's 4 years old. He would like to know. I might go into this a bit later, Jameson, but he'd like to know why they run super fast.
Hi, Jameson. Hi, how you doing, buddy? Um, Cheetahs are not big, strong cats like lions and leopards and tigers. So they can't ambush and just jump on something. They need to chase it and catch it with speed. So that's their way of hunting is they use speed. They're not very, very strong animals like the big cats that can just run and ambush and jump on something. They need to chase something down, tire it down, and then catch it to eat it. So yeah, it's all about they don't have the power, so they need the speed.
There you go, Jameson. You got a personalized message and a personalized answer. Desmond, can you tell us about the different types of prey that cheetahs tend to hunt?
Cheetahs mainly hunt small antelope, steenbuck, impala, springbuck, blesbuck, things like that. But if there's a male coalition, which cheetahs do, the males form coalitions and they stick together,
Mm.
3, 4, up to 6 of them together. Then they can take down big species like fully grown wildebeest, kudus, things like that. But on the norm, it's mostly small antelope, even things like rabbits, some ground birds, things like that.
Okay, so it tends to be animals that are quick but small that the cheetahs can chase down, but in some cases they can team up when you get those male coalitions. I like that. Great info. Desmond, cheetahs are already extinct in about 25 countries where they used to inhabit. It sounds like, why don't more people know that cheetahs are endangered and on their way to becoming extinct?
Patrick, I think there's not enough media exposure. There's a huge focus worldwide now on saving the rhino. What a lot of people don't know is there are 7,000 cheetahs estimated worldwide. There are approximately 27 to 30,000 rhinos. So the media exposure needs to change to, the more endangered and critically endangered species, like, in other words, cheetahs. So I think the big problem is media exposure. People don't know about it because they simply don't read about it.
Okay. And I suppose that's where your work comes in, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. You run a volunteer program at Running Wild Conservation. What does it take to be a volunteer?
Well, to be a volunteer, you need to be between the ages of 18 and 60. You need to be fit. You need to be able to walk a lot. And you need to just have a passion for wildlife and willing to learn about these animals. There's no special qualification you need, anything like that. As long as you are interested in these animals and somehow want to help them for the future, then that's all you need to do.
And what kind of day-to-day activities does a volunteer get to do when they're working with cheetahs? I feel that it's not just all about hanging out with these beautiful cats taking selfies all day.
No, we're actually against the whole selfie thing. When people come here as volunteers, they are actually contributing to conservation. And some of the work they do is that they obviously clean the enclosures. They help to mentally and physically stimulate the cats. They take them out on hunting expeditions. On the lure machine we run with them. They do health checks on the cats. So it's a lot more than, as you say, sitting around taking a couple of selfies.
Mm. I can imagine that you are not only involved with working with the cats directly, but sometimes you have to clear up the after mess.
Yeah, it's like having any animal in your surroundings. A clean enclosure is a safe enclosure.
Mm.
The enclosures, for instance, get cleaned every day. Water gets cleaned every second day. It's just to make sure that the health of the animals are as good as we can keep it.
Fantastic. Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you. Let's see, what time are we in? We are about 14 minutes in. That's good. We're doing pretty well. Now, I've heard that there is a cheetah, Desmond, called the king cheetah. From that description, you would think that that's the most genetically favorable cheetah, that these cheetahs are super strong. Do you breed with these subspecies, the king cheetah?
Patrick, no. But it's not to say that we never will. What a king cheetah is simply a coloration mutation or a genetic differential in the coloration of the cheetah. Where normal cheetahs, as you saw with Kiki, have lots of little black spots, up to 2,000 of them. King cheetahs have
Wow.
big black blotches, and then they've got 3 big black stripes running down their back. Now, I think if I can remember correctly, there are only 2 wild king cheetahs in the world. The rest are all in
Mm.
breeding projects because they're very sought after as uh, animal attractions in zoos all over the world. So
Right.
to breed one would probably not be ideal for our situation because our cheetahs are all set free back into the wild. And a king cheetah in the wild is probably going to get poached or stolen along the line somewhere because they have extremely high monetary value.
Right. So that coloration, it comes down to that difference in their DNA, in their genetics.
Yeah.
I have had a look at a few pictures of king cheetahs, and they remind me, or the coloration reminds me of a little bit of a like a clouded leopard, and maybe more like a serval almost.
Very, very similar to a serval. You're correct. Yes. But as I say, to breed a king cheetah, you need both a male and a female to have the recessive gene. So
Mm.
you might not know. 5 years down the line, we might breed a king cheetah because we're not sure if any of our cheetahs actually have that recessive gene. So it's possible, but
In-
it's extremely rare.
That's interesting. Yeah, when you talk about the recessive and dominant genes, to explain to everybody at home, that's how the reason why we look the way we look comes down to our DNA and our genes. And you have two pairs of genes, and each of these genes code for different things, different proteins, different pigmentation of skin, different hair color, different eye color. And depending on whether that gene is a dominant gene or a recessive gene, you'll get different outcomes. And if you have a dominant gene and a recessive gene, the code for the dominant gene, if that says brown eyes, you're going to have brown eyes. Whereas if you have two recessive genes, which maybe code for blue, that's when you're going to get blue eyes. So in the case of the king cheetah, I suppose that's what you're explaining. That's you might have cheetahs that have these recessive king cheetah genes, and it just takes two of them to come together to then potentially have offspring with those recessive genes to get a king cheetah. A lot of technicality that we're talking about here on Wild and Live today. But no, that sounds that's really cool. I hope that you keep us updated. I'm just gonna have a look to see if we have any other questions from our viewers. We have okay. Well, could we have another look at Kiki? And as you show us Kiki in all her splendor and all her beautiful glory, I'd like to ask a question from Matteo Kavanagh, who asks, "What are their spots for?"
Hi, Matteo. Yeah, their spots are 100% for camouflage. When they are stalking prey in the long grass, those spots look like little shadow dots. Looks like they call it dapple spots, and they just merge into the shadows of the grass. And antelope find it very difficult to see them. But while he's asking that question, I'd like to show Matteo something quickly. Sorry, I just needed to get to Kiki.
Okay. I was wondering where you were going. I was like, surely she's right next to you, but she's wandered off.
Matteo, these little black spots, the black hair is actually completely different to the lighter color hair. It's a lot softer. It's a completely different hair structure. It's quite interesting how it's all put together. Yeah.
She is beautiful, and we can hear that purring from Kiki. On that note of purring, why are cheetahs aren't, even though they are big African cats, they're technically, from a scientific point of view, not part of the big cat group.
Yeah, Patrick, there's an old wives' tale or an old legend that says that cheetahs are actually part of the dog family. That's not completely true. Are cat species. But where that came from was, if I zoom in here for you, you can see they don't have fully retractable claws like lions or tigers or pumas.
Mm.
You can see those nails there.
Let's have a look. Let's see if our stream is catching up. Yes, yeah, we can see those. So yeah, their claws aren't retractable. They stay out. Let's see if we've still got Desmond on the line. Have we still got you, Des?
I can still hear you clearly, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we missed all of that, but you were showing us Kiki's claws, and I suppose you're explaining that those claws are, surprisingly, when you compare them to other cats, that they're really blunt. They look more like dog's claws. And though the reason why they have those claws
Yeah.
permanently out is to be able to get that grip on the ground. It's not just about speed, it's also about being able to maneuver and corner at high speeds.
Correct. It's like a race car with the wrong tires on is useless. So they need those to grip with when they're doing those high-speed chases.
Yeah. That's great. Let's have a look at what time we're at, and I want to make sure people get. So we're at 20 minutes. I think we've got time to go on for 5 more minutes. Do cheetahs get in fights with each other, or do they just get along? That's a question from Sam Johnson. I think the internet gods have given us all that we're going to get. We're just going to try one more time, see if Des can still hear me.
I can still hear you, Patrick.
Yeah, it's such a shame that I think the internet gods are giving us a sign. But I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for joining us on Wild and Live. It's great to be able to look at that, to be able to see a cheetah, beautiful cheetah like Kiki. Thank you for everything that you do on behalf of everybody else, and hopefully we can speak to you again maybe in a couple of weeks' time. Before we go, is there anything that people at home who really love cheetahs and want to do their part to help prevent their extinction? What can people do at home?
Patrick, we've got a whole list on our Facebook page, Running Wild Cheetah Conservation. People can go have a look there. There's a whole lot of things people can do to actually help cheetahs, even if they're so yeah, if they're interested, they can have a look there, and they can actually go onto that page and give us a personal message if they need more info, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can.
Brilliant. That sounds amazing. I will put a link in in this video description for anybody that's interested. Des, before we go, could you give us a nice, beautiful profile once more of Kiki, and for everybody else, everybody at home to enjoy one last time?
Let me just find her. She's just walked off again. Quickly find her. Where have you gone?
She's saying that she wants to be left alone.
There she goes. Come, Kiki.
I mean, it seems so bizarre, Des, that you're just walking around with a cheetah. How old is she?
Kiki's 9 years. Off she goes.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah,
nice one. Okay, we'll leave her there, and I'll also leave you. I think that's it for our questions. I just want to say a massive thank you to you, Des. Really appreciated, and we will catch up again soon.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Keep safe. Sanitize. Enjoy.
Nice one.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Des. We'll chat a bit later. Nice. So that was Desmond Gouws from from Running Wild Cheetahs. He's a great guy. We worked together on a couple of shows back a few years ago. Wasn't that amazing to be able to see a cheetah live all the way from South Africa? That's what you get when you tune into Wild and Live. Before we go, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to giving you some top cheetah facts. I know that loads of you kids out there love a good fact. So how about this? We're talking about how fast cheetahs are. Did you know that cheetahs, when they run in their stride, they can, at top speed, they can cover up to 7 meters, which completely blew my mind. And this ability to have that stride of 7 meters comes from their ability to be able to compress and flex their spine. So when you think about a cheetah, when it's running, it stretches out its legs, it puts those 2 front legs down, and then the back legs kind of come through, and then it pushes off again. And in that process of pushing off, it's able to cover that 7 meters. And it's thought that cheetahs spend more when they're at this top speed and covering 7 meters with every stride. They cover more time in the air than they do on the ground. So even though the fastest animals on land, they could be classed as one of the fastest animals in the air as well. What else? Why are they so fast? So when we think about why cheetahs are so fast, we have to look at one of their ancestors. So it's thought that cheetahs evolved from a puma-like cat. And when we look at pumas that live in the Americas, they specialize in using they're quite slender, but they're also quite strong and muscular. They specialize in being able to use the topography, the shape of the landscape, trees, bushes, to either camouflage themselves or hide themselves before they then ambush their prey and give chase. But in Africa, if you look at the savanna is wide open, it's a large expanse. So there's nowhere for these cheetah-like, the puma-like ancestors of the cheetah to be able to hide and sneak up on their prey. So they had to evolve the strategy of being really fast. And when you look at the cheetah, everything is geared towards speed. Like Desmond said, they've got everything is all about speed. They're kind of like these race cars. So how are they fast? So it comes down to their legs. Long, muscular legs, which allow them to propel themselves forward really quickly. When you look at the body of a cheetah, its chest, it's really slender. It kind of looks more like a greyhound than a cheetah, really. Slender body, deep chest, so they can take in lots of oxygen. Big heart, so they can pump that oxygen around the body and fuel those muscles. The tail acts like a counterbalance, so when they're turning and making those sharp turns, they can stay on their feet. And actually, let's think about that. We've got this animal that's really fast, but it's not just about speed. It's also about grip, being able to turn really quickly. And that's what Desmond was showing us. He was showing us the Kiki's paws, and their claws are surprisingly blunt. They do look more like dog's claws because they're always out, so they wear down slightly. But it means that they're able to use their claws to grip the ground, get better footing, and make sure they keep up with their prey even when they're making those sharp turns. I'll end with this. The cheetah does have one sharp claw, its fifth claw, which is called a dew claw. And actually the scientific name for a cheetah comes from the Greek word for thorn, and that's thought to be because of that dew claw. And it uses that dew claw in the final closing moments as it's chasing down its prey. It comes up to the antelope, the gazelle, and just hooks in, tries to trip it or hook the back leg of its prey to then take it down. So yeah, amazing creatures. They're super fast, but they are also super fragile. But man, I absolutely love cheetahs. And wasn't that just amazing being able to see Kiki live on air all the way from South Africa? A big thank you to you, Desmond. Let's have another quick check, see if we've got any other questions. Let's have a look. I think that's all for now. I think we're all done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Wild and Live. I hope you're enjoying these shows. I'm having a lot of fun making them, and it means a lot that you guys are tuning in, and it's great to see your questions as well. For those of you that haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Have a flick through the videos. Have a look at the ones that you like, the upcoming videos. Set a reminder, and we will see you. We're going out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. on my YouTube channel. If you like what you see, please share it with your friends, family, teachers. Next week on Monday, we are going to be joined by Lucy Wells. She's a wildlife filmmaker. She filmed on 7 Worlds, 1 Planet, and she's going to be telling us what it's like to swim with whale sharks and film dino birds, real life dinosaur birds. You're not going to want to miss it. Please tune in. We're going out Monday, 11 a.m. on YouTube Live. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.